Minecraft's modding scene is one of the biggest in gaming, ever evolving and changing with new innovative mods coming out each year. But with a constant stream of mods being created daily, there's a few that are virtually essential for any modded playthrough, and that's what we'll cover. Primarily, this video delves into the mods that lay the groundwork for a traditional modded experience, focusing on the more technical aspects of the game to improve performance, stability, add quality of life features, and essential utilities and bug fixes, as opposed to mods that bring new additions into the world. That way, you have a good range of mod choices to source from, for whatever modded instance you're compiling, and can hopefully transfer to other instances should you wish. It's far from the definitive list, but it's a good catalogue to browse through, especially for those who want to build the foundation for their next modded adventure. To begin the list is the standard for any mod setup: item and recipe viewers. Players can flick through all the blocks and items in their instance to determine what's included, the processes to crafting them, and note if and what uses there are for an item or block. The most familiar of these mods is Just Enough Items, a mod that strives for easy accessibility, high performance, and stability for viewing items and crafting recipes. JEI's ease of use applies not just to players, but for mod devs to integrate their mods with it, resulting in JEI offering a large library of add-on mods to better improve modded experiences when using it. Roughly Enough Items opts for a cleaner, more aesthetic look, whilst providing some special features like exporting crafting recipes. Though featuring its own array of add-ons, Aria can also use JEI add-ons through the mod Aria plugin compatibilities, allowing for another option to use when playing modded Minecraft. EMI is the newest addition to the roster, being a more innovative item and recipe viewer mod that's feature heavy. Its most distinct feature, Recipe Trees, breaks down the crafting process for complex items to show every required step, totaling the amount of materials required and how much will be left over, creating a clear path to follow for obtaining a rather complex item. EMI also includes other features, like showing how many items a source of fuel can power, to labeling block types under smart tags to easily see all possible inputs at a glance, and even has a roster of add-on mods available to improve EMI. Not Enough Items was the go-to item and recipe viewer mod in prior versions. Though it may seem dated compared to its successors, NEI includes the traditional item and recipe viewer to view recipes and item uses, as well as various features like displaying block tooltips, save and load item layouts, and quickly delete items. An essential mod to lay the groundwork for your mod setup. Next, let's find a utility to chart you through the modded world. Exploring modded Minecraft can be both exciting and daunting. Plotting such endeavours across other realms, biomes, or even thousands of blocks away can make it a difficult road to follow back. Sure, the in-game coordinates can be captured through an in-game screenshot, or if you're like me, jotted on a piece of paper. But map mods also show more than just the world. It can highlight points of interest like structures and biomes, adapt depending on the player's level and location to show entities, underground caverns or dimensions, and can mark waypoints. What better way to start your modded journey than using Journey Map? Journey Map is the most used map in modern Minecraft, featuring both a mini-map, world map, and a browser option to view on your web browser. Almost everything about Journey Map can be tweaked to the player's preference. Toggle the display of different mob types, switch the map's perspective to view different world features, mark waypoints, and change the map's theme. These features, paired with frequent updates and a few add-on mods, makes it usually the go-to map mod to use in modern Minecraft. Alternatively, using Zero's minimap is another option to choose. Zero's minimap strives to maintain the vanilla aesthetic, ensuring it feels like a much more seamless integration into Minecraft's interface. Zero's minimap 2 is quite configurable. As it says, the mod features only half the package, the minimap. This is to ensure the mod remains lightweight and performance friendly compared to most minimap mods. Zero's world map is a standalone world map of the mod, which offers its own world map that can be tweaked in the same manner as the minimap. Use these independently or combine them together for the full package. Voxel Map is another great choice to use, especially for older versions. Like other mods, Voxel Map features both a minimap and a world map to easily find points of interest. Voxel Map also encompasses many of the typical features a minimap mod includes, like the ability to mark and teleport to waypoints, an automatic cave and dimension mode, block the minimap north, and mob radar. To use the modern versions, use Voxel Map Updated. Antique Atlas takes a different but more immersive approach to the traditional map mod. Rather than showing a map GUI, Antique Atlas is instead a craftable book atlas. With this, players can become their own cartographers, as they map out the familiar but changed worlds of modern Minecraft. The atlas can be enlarged to freely navigate all explored territory, or display in either hand slot in the same fashion as a vanilla map. Because of its approach, Antique Atlas isn't as cluttered, featuring only the necessities like markers. To experience in newer versions, use Antique Atlas 4, which, although substitutes the crafter manual for a world map, still behaves in the same function as the original. Next, there's Map Atlases. Similar to Antique Atlases, Map Atlases also adopts the idea of a craftable atlas and integrates it into the vanilla map mechanics. Using the cartographer station and a range of materials, players can create their atlas that renders as both a minimap and a world map. Exploring unmapped regions is much easier to do thanks to map atlases, only needing empty maps. Like a vanilla, the map atlas can be expanded with additional maps and works across dimensions. Feed the Beast Chunks is not only a minimap and world map mod, but also a chunk protector mod. Using the minimap and world map, players can mark and protect certain chunks, for instance their base, mob farms or contraptions, from harm against destructive mobs and or other players. With your map or atlas at the ready, it's time to resolve some critical processes to prepare your instance for other mods. Modded or not, maintaining good performance is critical when running any video game, so the player can run the game smoothly. However, mod packs that have an abundance of mods will inevitably demand more from the PC. This brings us to the performance suite of mods. Some are more visible in what they achieve, and many others operate in the background to improve performance. First, we have the primary performance suite of mods. These are essential must-haves for optimizing performance across the board with few compatibility issues. Sodium is one of the biggest performance enhancing mods for modern Minecraft. In essence, it greatly improves the rendering code in-game with the latest rendering techniques and implements other optimizations to better manage memory allocation and CPU overhead. Sodium makes the game run not only faster with less stress on the CPU, but also smoother without any erratic lag spikes or compromises to the game's visuals. Though only supported for Fabric, unofficial forks of Sodium are available on Forge and NeoForge. Embedium is the most up-to-date fork for Sodium, including additional optimizations to better work with the Forge mod loaders. Other forks include Rubidium, an older unofficial fork. Xenon, a fork of Embedium. Let's pull back to the other big performance mods that complement Sodium. First up, Lithium aims to optimize as much of the game's technical systems, like physics, AI, world gen and block ticking, without compromising the game's mechanics, freeing up more processing power for the computer to assign it to other areas. As for Lithium, there's 3 mod forks. Canary, the most up-to-date Lithium fork with a couple new changes. Radium, another unofficial fork for modern Minecraft versions, and Roadrunner, an older Forge fork that works for the 1.16 versions. Before 120, there were 2 major mods that optimizes one aspect of the game, the lighting engine. Phosphor is one such mod to improve the lighting engine to operate much faster, decreasing the time to load chunks, frame stutters when traversing chunks, and fixing many lighting bugs to better optimize the CPU. Starlight, on the other hand, completely rewrites Minecraft's light engine from the ground up. Through this, Starlight significantly lowers the load times across chunk generation, block updates and block placements at high altitudes, which benefits players for specific scenarios. Keep in mind that both Phosphor and Starlight are only useful for versions before 120, as their changes make little differences with Minecraft's updated light engine. Another popular performance mod is Optifine. Optifine is a complete all-in-one package for performance, optimizing the game across the board. It integrates finer control over render distance, smooth lighting, texture quality, particles, and other technical operations. Each option displays its own tooltip to better understand the operation and how it affects performance. For newer versions, Optifine has had conflicts with other mods and are incompatible with the previous performance mods covered, so it's usually best to use this for smaller mod setups, or for versions pre-112. If you want to use this for Fabric, use OptiFabric. Next, we come to some smaller yet impactful performance mods. First, there's Ferrite Core. Ferrite Core uses various processes to reduce memory usage of the game to be less demanding. In essence, Ferrite Core finds and frees up additional memory, bringing very little to no impacts to the CPU. For managing experience, there's Clumps. What Clumps does is very simple. Condenses all nearby XP orbs into a single entity. The effects are twofold. It reduces lag by loading only a single entity as opposed to multiple, and as a bonus, gives all the players XP at once to instantly see your total XP amount. In vanilla, entities behind the player are not rendered, yet continues to render entities that are hidden or obstructed from the player's view. Entity culling follows through on this and performs quick path tracing to calculate anything visible from the player's perspective and determines if they're rendered or not. Whatever isn't visible is skipped, freeing up memory which was previously used to render non-visible entities. More Culling is a general purpose culling mod affecting the rendering of various culling types to improve performance. The mod applies culling methods to block faces, maps and LODs to aggressively remove as many block faces that are obstructed from the player's field of view without compromising on visual detail. As a side effect, it also fixes bugs when culling certain non-cube blocks like chorus plants. These changes should noticeably optimize the game and be a must install for smoother gameplay. Another culling mod, Cull Leaves, skips rendering of the faces of leaf blocks that aren't visible to the player's perspective, removing way more polygons for the system to calculate and thus improving performance. Jungles and mangrove swamps are the infamous biomes for devouring performance, even on higher end machines. With this mod installed, navigating in these two biomes should no longer be a struggle to contend with. If Cull Leaves proves a bit too extreme on the visual department, then Cull Less Leaves is another option to culling leaf faces. The major difference Cull Less Leaves offers is the option to set the depth or layers of leaf faces to be rendered, creating a middle ground between performance and retaining leaf details. Cull Less Leaves Reforged is the unofficial Forge fork for players to use in Forge versions. Enhanced Block Entities tweaks how block entities are rendered, but without compromising on their animations. Instead of using laggy entity models, the mod makes some block entities use baked models. These changes affect block entities like chest types, bells, signs, shulker boxes, and beds. Next is Dynamic FPS, a mod that decreases computer resource usage when the game isn't in an active state. If the game is on any of the idle states, memory is pulled away from the game. This is to ensure that Minecraft doesn't consume large amounts of resources in the background, which could otherwise be used elsewhere. Because of this, returning to the game will load almost immediately, saving both time and CPU power. Bottom Fix is an all-in-one package mod for performance, memory and stability optimizations without compromising the vanilla game. It makes several tweaks to various aspects of the game, from backporting bug fixes from newer versions, to patching unsupported mods on a specific game version to prevent constant updates. One of the most notable changes Modern Fix makes drastically improves the launch times on the game, especially on larger mod packs. Then there's Immediately Fast, a lightweight mod that optimizes the immediate mode rendering for a more efficient GPU process. This affects the rendering of entities and block entities, particles, text, and GUI elements. What purpose does rendering the inventory at 90 FPS achieve, other than wasting memory when that could be allocated elsewhere? Introducing Exordium, a mod that frees up the memory of the GUI and interfaces to allow the CPU and GPU to process more demanding actions. This includes most interface screens, the hotbar, boss bars, and the crosshair. the debug screen, and the in-game chat. Exordium also has options to adjust the maximum frame rates for each element, letting it work better with other mods that affect the user interface. Smooth Boot drastically reduces the time it takes to launch into the main menu by changing two primary attributes: the amount of CPU threads and the priority of each, to ensure the CPU isn't 100% used. Since 1.19.4 though, Minecraft's alleviated the problem itself, but it works well with versions prior for quicker, smoother startups. Smooth Boot Reloaded is the unofficial fork to use for Forge instances. With so many mods mingled together, there will no doubt be occasions where the game may become unstable, or need some fixing. To help keep the game as stable as possible, we'll source a few stability mods, as well as the addition of mods that serve to fix as many of the bugs present in vanilla. Debugify is a good starting point for fixing bugs. Currently, it fixes more than 70 bugs present in the vanilla game. Some of the many bug fixes, for instance, include fishing lines now actually attached to the fishing pole when crouching third person, rather than floating mid-air. Pressing F3 once brings up the debug screen after switching game modes, and telemetry data is disabled to prevent telemetry data collection. It also implements fixes included from other mods, like fixing the tracking of skeletons when aiming from the skeleton aiming fix mod. Blocks and items in vanilla have a texture gap between textures. This is easily visible on tools, doors, and other custom block models. Model Gap Fix is a simple mod that attempts to patch this issue. On the technical aspect, it removes texture zooming to ensure each face of a model or item uses the complete texture. The next mod, Attribute Fix, operates under the hood to fix other mods. Minecraft uses an attribute system for calculations like max health, armor and armor toughness, movement speed, knockback resistance, as well as attack speed and damage. In vanilla, these attributes are capped to how high they can reach. However, many mods are hindered from this attribute cap. With Attribute Fix, the caps for attributes are significantly increased, allowing mods to fully work as intended. Max Health Fix addresses the max health attribute bug that occurs in vanilla. This bug arises when players with higher health values than 20 are ignored upon logging back into a world. Installing this mod keeps the player's max health intact. Memory Leak Fix fixes various memory leaks that occur in vanilla to prevent additional memory from being wasted, which in turn keeps the game more stable. Tooltip Fix stops the big tooltips that clip off screen and fits them into the space accordingly. Now, players can finally read what their Apex Enchanted tool has without adjusting the GUI scale. Thanks to these range of mods, the game will be more stable, and free of some bugs. Discovering new blocks and items is no doubt exciting, but without proper experience using a mod, the player wouldn't know what the proper tool and tier is to harvest a block. Tooltips reveal some of the most important information to the player about the world and their surroundings, from what a block or entity is and which mod it's from, to showing the correct tool to harvest it with, and additional attributes like hit points, or displaying contained items. What the hell is that is one such mod that brings in-game tooltips to the player. Whatever block, fluid, or entity the player is looking at, the mod will display information about the corresponding target, as well as any special attributes it exhibits, like showing the capacity of fluids or power from certain blocks. The mod itself is easy to customize, to better display more or less information, as well as adjusting the position for better readability. MeGain is an optional add-on to provide additional compatibility when using other mods. Jade is another popular tooltip mod, going for a cleaner and lighter aesthetic with better accessibility, additional features and bug fixes to enhance the user experience. Its extensive config options allows Jade to be further customized. Change the keybinds, display certain tags like the harvest tool, entity health, storage for fluids or energy, to change the theme, and additional options to display specialized attributes like the notes of a note block, entity effects, and more. Jade add-ons integrate additional information about modded blocks and items to prove even more useful for certain mod setups. Both What the Heck Is That and Jade are forks of Here's What You're Looking At, an older tooltip mod, but for older versions. Whaler was also preceded by the original mod, What Am I Looking At? This brought the tooltip into versions pre-112. As it's the oldest of the tooltip mods, it also lacks many of the features that are otherwise integrated into the modern tooltip mods. Fortunately, a suite of add-on mods are available to use with Whaler, like Whaler Harvestability and Whaler plugins, to better improve mod experiences with this mod. A different utility mod, the One Probe, takes a different approach to the tooltip system. It instead adds a craftable probe item that, if equipped, generates on-screen tooltips of what the player looks at. Standard information like the target name and origin of said target is provided to the player, but provides additional information about container and powered blocks if sneaking. Entities, however, can be a little hard to gather intel. For the case of entities, a specific group of tooltip or indicator mods are available to show mob information easier. Neat is one such mod that provides entity information. Neat projects simple and clean mob bars above all entities, which displays the entity's name, its current and max health, as well as armor points or weaknesses to enchantments like Smite. The bars themselves can be adjusted in the config file for easier accessibility, such as adjusting the distance an entity bar renders at, as well as its size, to assigning hostile mobs and bosses their own bar color to distinguish them better. Damage Indicators is a stylistic mob indicator mod, displaying a mob portrait as well as the mob bar on the entity the player is looking at. Beyond revealing the total health and a live capture of the mob, the bar highlights the type of mob it is and any effects the mob is affected with. Additionally, entities that take damage will pop off a small number that reveals the damage the entity received. The bar's appearance can be changed from 3 presets, and the mob portrait can be personally tailored to every entity, vanilla and modded. Toro Health Damage Indicators is an adaptation of Damage Indicators, but takes its own creative liberties. This too features a mob bar and mob portrait for entities, as well as damage numbers to easily see an entity status. Toro Health Damage Indicators Updated and Toro Health Unofficial are options to choose from if playing in 120 versions. With most of the setup ready to go, there's one final mod type that is a lifesaver in situations that are needed most. Death in Minecraft can at times be punishing, to say the least. Playing in modded Minecraft, and the punishments are elevated even further. Though not necessary, many players wouldn't question the decision to include a Gravestone mod, to protect all their items they've spent hours getting. Let's start simple with Gravestone. As it implies, Gravestone places a grave when a player dies at their last location, containing all their items and info about their death circumstance. To easily track their death, an obituary is placed into a player's inventory upon death. This displays a full log about their most recent death, the dimension they're in, their death coordinates, and catalogues all their items that were on them. Corpse takes a more immersive approach to the grave system, displaying a corpse of the player itself as their grave. Players can easily retrieve and transfer their loot back to their previous location, making the process simple and painless. They can also view all their current death locations to better see where they're located. Another nice touch is the player's corpse will turn into a skeleton if left for over an in-game hour. Universal Graves is a highly customizable grave mod, projecting the player's head out of the surface, but with a twist. Though players will receive a death compass upon respawning, they will have a 30-minute window to access their grave before it breaks. Graves, fortunately, have a short grace period to protect it from other players. Now, playing modded Minecraft should be a bit more forgiving, but if you wanted the challenge, by all means opt out of using a grave mod. With a mod list ready to go, what better way to play a new mod list than to bring some quality of life improvements and final utility mods? This category may be the most subjective out of the lot. While some may consider these essential, there's possibly some mods which aren't. Controlling solves one of the biggest dilemmas with modern Minecraft. too many keybinds, and not enough controls. Controlling introduces a menu for players to quickly search for a specific keybind, where they can refine their search by the mod category and the key it is. Moreover, controlling can quickly reveal all conflicting and any unbinded keybinds, saving much hassle scrolling back and forth to find clashing hotkeys. Mod menu, as it says, includes a mod menu button to view all installed mods in a loaded instance, where the player can view a brief description of the mod, access the mod's webpage, and sometimes access the config menu. Mod menu additionally adds some options to hide library mods and labels client-side mods. Pairing excellent with mod menu is configured. It implements simple, accessible config menus to all mods that contain config files, streamlining the entire configuration of mods, whereas before, players had to manually navigate and open each file individually. Experimental features is one of the great menaces to creating or loading worlds. Disable custom worlds advice is the answer to removing this prompt forever. To use for Forge, either use shut up experimental settings or Yetis Experimentus, which works for all mod loaders. Better F3 overhauls the entire interface of the debug menu for a much cleaner and legible interface. Related attributes are bundled and color-coded to improve legibility and identification. The menu can additionally be customized further to adjust the colors of groups, or even add or subtract modules to reveal only the important elements the player wants. Toasts may be helpful tools, but can prove rather annoying when loading a new world all the time. This problem is alleviated with toast control, giving full control over which toasts show up and in what condition. Recipe and tutorial toasts are disabled by default, which has the ability to disable all other toasts like advancements, the narrator, and toasts from other mods. Translucent and transparent toasts are options to keep less obtrusive toasts in-game. In large modded instances, recipe conflicts are bound to happen, and configuring them manually can be rather tedious. Polymorph alleviates this by inserting a button on conflicting recipes to toggle between all available outputs. The button is applied to all conflicting recipes in crafting tables, furnaces, and smithing tables. Enchantment descriptions includes a brief summary of what an enchantment does, making it easier to determine its role, effect, and application on equipment or a piece of gear. Enchantments created from other mods are also affected, helping players decipher some of the more obscure enchantments. Drawing inspiration from enchantment descriptions, potion descriptions previews short tooltips when hovering over potions and suspicious stews, alleviating the hassle of remembering different status effects and their effects on entities. It also works with other mods that add potion-like items, proving useful for heavy modded setups. Mouse tweaks remains uncontested in enhancing mouse actions and inventories, adding new controls to easily manage the acquisition and transfer of blocks and inventories, making it a must-have quality of life add-on for mod setups. Similarly, inventory tweaks is a must quality of life mod for improving inventory management, from organizing the entire inventory of a block container or player with the press of a button, to replacing empty items and tools that break in a moment, bringing the focus to the game and less to managing inventory hiccups. Inventory Profiles Next is a more modern version of inventory tweaks, but with some added features, like dumping everything in the inventory with a single button, to locking item slots to ignore sorting. Crafting Tweaks introduces a few buttons to quickly place or adjust item inputs for optimizing crafting times, from rotating item inputs in the crafting grid to evenly distributing item quantities and instantly compress or decompress items with a single click. For better managing hunger, Apple Skin brings various HUD tooltips and overlays to display food hunger and saturation. Its most notable feature is revealing the previously invisible attribute, saturation, when hovering over food in the inventory or when equipping a food item. Moreover, it also visualizes the max potential health that can be regenerated if the food is consumed, providing a much better gauge on how nutritional and filling a food item is, especially modded foods. Harvesting crops can be quite the hassle. The mod Reap alleviates this by letting players harvest crops whilst retaining the seed planted. Players have the ability to also fell trees at once. When gathering resources, Feed the Beast Ultimine is the best time-saving mod to extract resources quicker. This allows multiple materials to be harvested at once, proving versatile for many scenarios. Felling whole trees in one chop, extract an entire ore vein, till or harvest plantations of crops all at once. Visual cues are outlined to preview the shape and area of influence the Ultimine takes effect. Built into Ultimine is a range of harvest options to change the shape, size, and area of the Ultimine, enabling players to carve out stairways, tunnels, or small squares with a simple click. Vein Miner is another popular mod for effective resource gathering on older versions. All primary tools and shears by default vein mine materials to save time. Though not as flexible as Feed the Beast Ultimine, Vein Miner offers options to adjust the range and limit to vein mining resources to better suit for a balanced or efficient playstyle. Fast leaf decay vastly speeds up the decay rate of leaves when wood is cut from a tree. Overall, a very simple yet effective feature to remove floating leaf chunks, especially large leaves from modded trees. Clean swing through grass remedies one of the biggest annoyances with the current combat system. In vanilla, attempting to attack a mob through a transparent block like tall grass, flowers, and vines would target the block instead. This mod changes the detection system for such blocks. If an entity is present or within a few blocks from a transparent block, hits will target the entity instead. Weapons are only affected by this feature, so punching entities with other items equipped will be treated as normal. Fabric and Quilt users can use Swing Through to bring this change to their worlds too. Finally, there's Pickup Notifier. Pickup Notifier should keep the player from never missing anything again. It highlights every item or block picked up in the bottom right. The entire mod is configurable to adjust its position, how long entries last, and can be displayed at once, as well as its size, colour, and entry background for improved visibility. No doubt there's some extra quality of life or utility mods that may be essential for you. By all means, add them in. With that concludes an extensive suite of essential mods to install for whatever modded instance you want to play in next. The canvas is set, and now you can paint it with whatever mods you want.